It was a Friday night, quiet, calm, and colder than usual. I had just finished cleaning up after dinner when my phone buzzed. It was from my wife. "Emily, don't wait up, honey. I'm with friends. We might grab a drink or two." That message wasn't strange at first. She often went out with her old college friends, and I trusted her. But something about tonight felt off. Maybe it was the way she didn't answer when I called earlier, or how she left the house dressed more formally than usual for a girls' night. Still, I brushed it off, trying not to overthink. But when I went to put away her spare car key, I noticed something. Her car's GPS tracker, the one we installed together last year for safety, was still connected to my phone. Out of curiosity, I opened the app. The screen loaded slowly, and then my heart stopped. The little blue that represented her car wasn't moving toward the city, where her friends lived. It was parked outside a quiet house on the outskirts of town. And that house, I recognized it. It belonged to Mark, her coworker, the one she'd always described as just a friend. My pulse quickened. My mind raced. I didn't want to believe what I was seeing. Still, I told myself, maybe it's innocent. Maybe she just stopped by. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I sat there for a full minute, staring at the glowing blue on my phone screen. My hands were trembling slightly, but not from fear, from uncertainty. Was I about to destroy my marriage over a misunderstanding? Or was I about to uncover something I could never unsee? Emily's car hadn't moved in nearly half an hour. It was late past 10 p.m., and I knew her friends usually met downtown. That house, though, was 10 miles in the opposite direction. I took a deep breath, grabbed my keys, and quietly stepped outside. The night air bit at my face as I started the engine. Every turn of the wheel felt heavier than the last. My heart thudded in my chest, louder than the sound of the tires on the road. As I got closer, doubt started creeping again. Maybe she was helping Mark with something. Maybe I was being paranoid. Then I saw it, her car, unmistakable, parked in front of Mark's driveway. The same silver sedan I had bought her last year for our anniversary. All the lights in the house were off except one, in the upstairs bedroom. Curtains half drawn, faint shadows moving behind them. I parked a block away, heart pounding. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Emily. "We're just wrapping up. Don't wait up. Love you, Redheart." My jaw clenched. She had no idea that I was sitting there, only a few hundred feet away, reading that message while watching her car glow under the streetlight. I turned off my headlights and leaned back in my seat, the silence closing in around me. I wasn't ready to confront her yet. I needed to be sure, completely sure. That's when an idea hit me. Her car's dash camera, the one with cloud backup. I could access it remotely. I opened the app, connected, and waited for the live feed to load. And when it did, my breath caught in my throat. The feed took a few seconds to buffer, the little loading circle spinning like it was mocking me. My palms were sweating as I stared at the screen. Then the picture finally appeared, dim, grainy, but clear enough. The camera showed the inside of Emily's car, parked right where I had seen it. The front seats were empty, but then the passenger door opened. Emily stepped in. Her hair was slightly tousled, her coat unbuttoned. She looked nervous, glancing around before settling into the driver's seat. For a moment, I exhaled, thinking she was just about to head home. But then the passenger door opened again. Mark climbed in. He didn't look like a man needing a ride home. He looked comfortable, familiar, too familiar. They said something. The mic couldn't catch it clearly. And then Emily laughed softly. That same laugh she used to have for me. The kind that once filled our kitchen in the mornings. I felt a sting in my chest. My instinct screamed at me to look away, but my hand stayed frozen on the phone. Mark leaned closer. Emily didn't pull back. And then, suddenly, the camera went dark. She had turned off the engine, and the dash power along with it. But she forgot one thing. The backup battery stayed active for a few more seconds before shutting down. In those final seconds, I saw her hand, resting on his arm. The screen went black. My world went quiet. I leaned back, eyes fixed on the reflection in the windshield. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there, every memory replaying in my head. Our wedding day, the vacations, her promises. Then something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to make a scene. I was going to be smart. If she could lie to my face this easily, I would let her. But next time, I have proof she couldn't deny. I drove home slowly, headlights off until I was halfway down our street. The house looked peaceful. The porch light still on, the same way Emily always left it. I parked, sat in silence for a long minute, then finally went inside. Our wedding photo hung on the hallway wall, the one where she was laughing, and I was looking at her like she was my whole world. That moment felt like it belonged to someone else now. I sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. If she wanted to play this game in the shadows, I'd use light, quiet, patient light. I backed up the dash footage, every second of it. Then I copied the GPS log too, the coordinates, the timestamps, everything. I sent it all to a hidden drive she didn't know about. Then I made coffee. I didn't sleep that night. When I heard her car pull into the driveway just before 1 a.m., my pulse didn't even rise. I just waited. The front door opened. "Hey," she whispered, pretending to sound tired. "You're still awake?" "Yeah," I said evenly. "Couldn't sleep?" She smiled faintly, slipping off her shoes. It was a long night. Lisa wouldn't stop talking. Lisa, one of her friends. The lie rolled off her tongue so naturally that it almost impressed me. "Uh-huh," I murmured, sipping my coffee. "Did you have fun?" She nodded, avoiding my eyes. "Yeah, it was nice to catch up." "Good," I said simply. Then I smiled, the kind of smile that hides a storm. "You should get some rest." She kissed my cheek quickly and went upstairs. I watched her go, memorizing every step. Tomorrow, she'd tell me more lies. And I listened, carefully, quietly, because tomorrow night I planned to follow her again. The next morning felt painfully normal. Emily hummed while making coffee, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. I played along, pretending to read the news while studying every word, every expression. She didn't mention Mark, didn't even flinch. It was like last night had never existed. By noon, she left for work, and I sat staring at her empty coffee mug. My mind was set. Tonight, I'd know the truth once and for all. I installed a small camera on the dashboard of her car, discreet motion activated, recording directly to the cloud. Then I synced her GPS app again and turned on notifications for any location changes. That evening, I acted normal. We had dinner. She smiled, told me about her office stress, and I nodded in all the right places. Then around 8:45 p.m., her phone buzzed. She read the message quickly, locked the screen, and looked up. "Hey, the girls want to meet again," she said lightly. "You don't mind, right?" I shook my head. "Of course not. Have fun." She kissed my cheek, just like the night before, grabbed her purse, and left. The moment the door closed, I opened the tracking app. Her car moved north and then stopped. The same house. My chest tightened. I grabbed my phone and connected to the new camera feed. This time, everything was clear, crystal clear. Emily pulled into the driveway. Mark walked out to meet her. No hesitation, no pretense. They laughed, talked for a few minutes, then disappeared inside. But this time, I wasn't going to sit in my car like a ghost. I got in my truck and started driving. The road stretched ahead, dark and silent, my headlights cutting through the night like a blade. My mind was calm, too calm. I didn't plan to scream. I didn't plan to fight. I just wanted her to see me, to see what her lies had turned me into. The gravel crunched under my tires as I pulled up near Mark's house. Her car was right there, parked like before, engine still warm. I turned off my headlights and sat for a moment, staring at that front door. Every memory I had with her flashed through my mind. Our first date, her laughter on rainy mornings, the way she used to say, "You're my safe place." Now, all I felt was a hollow ache where that warmth used to be. I stepped out quietly. The air was cold, heavy, and silent except for a faint hum coming from inside the house. The blinds were slightly open, light flickering from what looked like the living room. I moved closer, slow, careful, my footsteps muffled by the grass. Through the narrow gap in the curtains, I saw them. Emily and Mark sat on the couch, not close enough to touch, but close enough to betray everything. She was crying, holding her hands together, saying something I couldn't hear. He leaned forward, trying to comfort her. Part of me wanted to storm in and demand answers. But another part, the calmer one, knew that a single scene wouldn't fix anything. So instead, I took out my phone. The camera zoomed in perfectly through the window. I pressed record. Then I stepped back, rang the doorbell, and waited. The door opened. Emily froze. Her eyes went wide, like she had seen a ghost. "What were you doing here?" I held up my phone. "Just making sure you're safe. You know, since you said you were with friends." Mark stood up, speechless. Emily's lips trembled. "It's not what you think." "Really?" I interrupted, keeping my voice calm, steady. "Then maybe you should explain it. Because I've got GPS data, dash footage, and now a front row seat." She tried to reach for my hand, but I stepped back. "Please," she whispered, "just let me talk." I nodded. "Talk, Emily. But be honest this time. For once." The silence that followed felt endless. She looked down, her voice breaking. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I just felt lost. I didn't know how to tell you." Mark stayed frozen, clearly wishing he could vanish. I took a deep breath. "You already told me everything. You just used a different language. Lies." Then I turned and walked away. I didn't slam the door. I didn't shout. I just left her standing there in the doorway, staring into the night she had chosen over us. The drive home felt endless. The streets were empty, the world asleep, except for me. My mind replayed every detail, every word, every look from that night. But there were no tears, no anger left, just quiet acceptance. When I got home, I sat in the dark living room, staring at the clock on the wall. Each tick felt heavier than the last. Around 2 a.m., Emily's car pulled into the driveway. She didn't come inside right away. I could see her silhouette sitting there in the driver's seat, probably rehearsing what to say. Eventually, the door opened, and her footsteps echoed down the hallway. "Can we talk?" she whispered. I nodded slowly, motioning for her to sit. She looked small, fragile, not the confident woman I married. "I'm sorry," she began, her voice trembling. "It wasn't supposed to go this far. I thought I was missing something in my life, but now I realize what I was really losing." I listened quietly. I didn't interrupt. Her words felt rehearsed but sincere, maybe both. "I'll do whatever it takes," she said finally, tears in her eyes. "Counseling, honesty, anything. Just don't give up on us." For a long moment, I didn't respond. I looked at the woman I once trusted more than anyone, and the stranger she had become. Then I spoke softly. "Emily, love isn't something you find with someone else when things get hard. It's what you fight to protect. And you didn't fight." Her face fell. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I continued. "But I do know I can't live in lies anymore." I stood up and walked toward the guest room, leaving her at the table, staring into her empty hands. That night, I didn't sleep. But for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. Not because things were fixed, but because the truth was finally out. And sometimes, that's where real healing begins. Not in pretending everything's okay, but in finally facing what's broken. The seasons change quietly, the way life always does after chaos. 6 months had passed since that night. The night the truth finally broke us apart. Emily moved out 2 weeks later. No screaming, no lawyers at first. Just boxes, silence, and the kind of heartbreak that doesn't explode. It just stays. We both agreed to counseling, not as a couple, but as two people trying to understand where everything went wrong. At first, I hated every session. Talking about betrayal felt like reopening a wound that refused to close. But over time, I realized something. Healing wasn't about forgiving her for what she did. It was about forgiving myself for not seeing the signs sooner. I focused on rebuilding my routines, my peace, my sense of who I was before everything revolved around her. I picked up running again, started visiting my parents more often, even took a short road trip alone. For the first time in years, I was learning how to be still without feeling empty. Then one afternoon, while I was getting gas, I saw her again. Emily. She looked different, quieter. The guilt in her eyes had softened into something like acceptance. "Hey," she said gently, "you look better." "So do you," I replied, and for once it wasn't awkward. We talked for a few minutes. Nothing deep, just small things. Before leaving, she smiled faintly. "I really hope you're happy someday." I nodded. "I already am, or at least getting there." As she drove away, I didn't feel bitterness anymore. No need to reply. Some stories don't need new chapters, just proper endings. That night, as I stood by the window, I realized something important. Sometimes love isn't about staying together. It's about learning when to let go and still wishing the other person peace. The GPS had once shown me betrayal. Now, it reminded me of direction, of how far I'd come. And maybe, just maybe, that's what real closure looks like. A year passed. Time didn't heal everything, but it gave meaning to what had happened. I'd sold the house we once shared and moved into a smaller place near the lake. The air there was cleaner, the nights quieter. Some mornings I'd wake up early, make coffee, and just watch the sunrise reflect off the water. It reminded me that even after darkness, light always comes back, slow, but certain. I kept the old dash camera tucked away in a drawer, not out of bitterness, but as a reminder that truth matters, that ignoring small lies always leads to bigger ones, that love, no matter how deep, can't survive without honesty. One evening, I got an email from Emily. It was short, just a few lines. "I hope you're doing well. I'm truly sorry for how I hurt you. You didn't deserve it, and I'll carry that with me forever. I'm glad you found peace. I finally did too." I read it twice, then smiled. There was no anger left in me. No need to reply. Some stories don't need new chapters, just proper endings. That night, as I stood by the window, I realized something important. Sometimes love isn't about staying together. It's about learning when to let go and still wishing the other person peace. The GPS had once shown me betrayal. Now, it reminded me of direction, of how far I'd come. And maybe, just maybe, that's what real closure looks like. Spring arrived with quiet promise. The lake thawed, the trees bloomed, and I found myself walking the same trail I used to avoid, the one that reminded me too much of the past. But this time it felt different, peaceful, lighter. Life had a strange way of rebuilding itself after breaking you apart. I had a new job, new friends, and a new rhythm. I laughed more, slept better, and no longer checked my phone out of habit, waiting for a message that would never come. One afternoon, while I was reading at a cafe near the lake, someone asked if they could share the table. I looked up, a woman about my age, kind smile, eyes filled with quiet warmth. Her name was Clara. We talked easily, like old friends meeting for the first time, about books, travel, and why people chase sunsets. When she laughed, it wasn't the same as Emily's, and that was the best part. It didn't remind me of anything lost. It reminded me of what could still be found. We started seeing each other on weekends. No pressure, no pretending. Just two people who'd been broken once, learning how to trust the world again. One evening, as we walked along the lake, Clara asked softly, "Do you ever wish you could go back?" I shook my head. No. If I went back, I'd miss everything that brought me here. She smiled. That's the right answer. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in amber light, I realized something. The story that began with a text message and a GPS signal wasn't about betrayal after all. It was about rediscovery. Because sometimes you have to lose what you thought was love to finally understand what love really is. And this time, I wasn't afraid to follow where my heart led. Weeks turned into months, and life with Claire began to feel like a quiet sunrise, steady, warm, and unforced. There was no rush, no drama, no guessing games. We both carried scars, but instead of hiding them, we let them breathe. One evening, while we were sitting on her porch watching the rain, she noticed how I tensed when her phone buzzed. She didn't ignore it. She looked me in the eyes and said softly, "You don't have to hide it. I know what that sound means to you. I nodded, embarrassed. Old habits. Hard to shake. She reached over and took my hand. Then let's replace them with new ones. Her words were simple, but they hit me harder than I expected. For years, I had built walls made of suspicion, try and protect myself from more lies. But Clara didn't try to climb over those walls. She helped me take them apart, one piece at a time. A few nights later, we took a late drive through the city. I laughed when she handed me her phone to change the music. No passwords, no hesitation, just trust. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. When we stopped at a red light, she glanced at me and said, "You know, sometimes you don't have a track where someone's going. You just have to walk beside them." That sentence stayed with me. By the time we reached the lake, the stars were out. We sat on the hood of her car, listening to the water lap against the shore. I looked at her and said quietly, "You make it easy to believe again." She smiled, leaning against me. That's all I ever wanted to do. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I realized I wasn't haunted anymore. The GPS that once led me to heartbreak had guided me, in its own strange way, back to hope. The following weekend, I finally did something I'd avoided for a whole year. I opened a drawer where I kept the old dash camera, GPS device, and memory cards. They'd sat there quietly, gathering dust like relics of another life. Claire was in the kitchen making tea when she noticed me standing there, staring at the drawer. "You okay?" she asked softly. "Yeah," I said, though my voice wavered a little. "I think it's time." I took everything out and placed it on the table. The camera, the cords, the flash drive with the saved footage. Each piece felt heavy, not because of the metal, but because of what it represented. Pain, betrayal, sleepless nights, endless replaying of what went wrong. Clara didn't say a word. She just stood beside me, hand on my shoulder, quiet and steady. I grabbed a small box and placed everything inside. Then I walked outside with her to the fire pit near the lake. The air was crisp, and the sunset painted the sky in soft shades of orange and gold. For a moment, I hesitated, my thumb brushing over the lens of the old dash camera. One last time. That thing showed me the truth. I said quietly, but it also kept me stuck there. Clara nodded. "Then maybe it's time to stop looking back." I took a deep breath and dropped it all into the fire. The flames caught slowly, then grew brighter, the plastic curling and cracking, the last reminders of that painful chapter turning into smoke and light. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't even about forgiveness. It was about release. As the fire burned down, I felt lighter, like a chain had quietly slipped off my chest. Clara smiled at me. "How do you feel?" I looked at the rising smoke drifting into the sky and said, "Free." Finally free. And for the first time in years, I meant it. The past no longer controlled my direction. This time, the only thing guiding me forward was peace. A few days after burning the reminders of my past, I woke up before sunrise. The lake was still wrapped in a thin layer of fog. I poured a cup of coffee and stepped outside, letting the cool air fill my lungs. For the first time in years, there was no heaviness in my chest, no bitterness, no unanswered questions, just stillness. I thought about everything that had led me here, the lies, the heartbreak, the sleepless nights, the long road to healing. It all felt like a different lifetime now. But I realized something. Without that pain, I wouldn't have learned peace. People always say love is about trust, but that's only part of it. Real love, the kind that lasts, begins with trusting yourself. Because when you stop doubting who you are, you stop needing others to prove your worth. I smiled as the first rays of sunlight broke over the water. Clara walked up beside me, still half asleep, wrapped in a blanket. "Couldn't sleep again?" she asked, voice soft. "No," I said with a small grin. "I just didn't want to miss this." We stood there together, watching the morning unfold, and I realized something I never thought I'd feel again: gratitude. Gratitude for what I lost. Gratitude for what I found. Gratitude for what I became. The GPS that once showed me betrayal had done something far more powerful. It had guided me back to myself. I took Clara's hand and whispered, "Sometimes the wrong turn is what leads you home." She smiled. "Then I'm glad you found your way." As the sun rose higher, the fog lifted, and the world felt brand new again. And so did I. Months later, I revisited the place where everything had once fallen apart, the old road outside Mark's house. Not out of anger or nostalgia, but out of peace. I parked for a moment, rolled down the window, and just listened. The world was quiet. The pain that used to echo there was gone, replaced by calm acceptance. I didn't stay long. I didn't need to. I drove away slowly, the sunset stretching across the horizon like a promise. When I reached the lake, Clara was waiting, sitting on the hood of her car, legs crossed, eyes reflecting the golden light. I walked over, and she smiled. "Where'd you go?" "Just somewhere I needed to say goodbye." I replied. She didn't ask to who. She didn't need to. Some goodbyes aren't for people. They're for the parts of ourselves we've outgrown. We sat together in silence, watching the sun dip beneath the water. The colors shifted from gold to crimson to deep violet. I thought about how love had once broken me, but healing had rebuilt me, stronger, wiser, quieter. Then I said softly, "You know what I've learned?" Clara looked at me. "What's that?" "That the truth hurts less than pretending. That forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you, and that sometimes the story you thought was ending was just the start of a better one." She smiled, resting her head on my shoulder. "Sounds like peace to me." "It is," I said. Finally, as the stars appeared one by one, I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. For the first time in years, my heart felt light. No more GPS signals, no more late-night doubts, just a steady rhythm of something real. And in that quiet moment, I understood home isn't a place. It's the feeling of finally being whole again. Sometimes, losing what you love is how you find who you are.